Okay, the Volvo is inside. There's a lot of things that are gonna have to try and get fixed on it today. The angle gear being one of them. An angle gear out of a 2005 XC70 that didn't look like it had any leaks or sweats on it. The splines looked great, and the gears inside made absolutely no noise when you spun them out. The actuator on the turbo of this car is disengaged in some way. It popped under boost, and now I have absolutely no boost. All of my vacuum lines are intact. All of my boost hoses are intact and in place. A lot of people on Instagram are telling me that this could be the actuator on the turbo, and I think that's a fantastic idea. So we're gonna go ahead and investigate that as well. I have a lot of new sensors going in the car: rear O2 sensor, fuel pressure regulator sensor, and then just generally clean the engine bay, do a whole bunch of, general maintenance like engine oil. We have some new proper clips for the rear trunk diffuser wing from Viva Performance that we're gonna try and redo and make all nice, because the way it's sitting right now just ain't it. First things first, let's get the car in the air, let's get to work. This is a blind hole puller set that I got off Amazon for like $80 Canadian. Realistically, I only need this one piece. This is gonna go inside, expand, grab onto these teeth, and I'm gonna take this mechanism here and just pound the old one out. These inside the car are a pain in the ass to get out. We have new seals for it. Hopefully this will get everything back on and running smoothly. Let's see what the oil looks like coming out of the XC70 angle gear. Yeah, so that's not good. The oil that came out is absolutely black, but this is to be expected coming out of the 2005 angle gear. We're gonna go ahead and replace that with some 75 W90 GL5. This is kind of what's recommended. All I'm really gonna do is reintroduce the same amount of fluid that I took out, because the fact that this thing is holding this much, it's gonna be about this anyways. So I'm gonna mark it in here, and I'm just gonna reintroduce the same amount of fluid that I took out, just with some brand new stuff, and we should be good to go. And that's about it. So with the passenger side axle out, downpipe out, now we have as much access as possible without taking the turbo off at those 5 bolts holding that transfer case onto that transmission. So we're gonna go ahead and try and get this damn thing out. So just comparing the two angle gears, this is the one that I got out of the XC70. This is the thrashed and bashed one that came out of this monster. The one at the XC70, you can tell nothing's been leaking. It does just overall in general look in better shape, including the splines on the other side. So we're gonna go ahead and put this less abused angle gear into the car and run it. But I'm gonna keep this one, and I'm gonna have a full rebuild done on it. See if I can't get some forged parts made for it. I don't know if you can even do that, we'll see. And then maybe in the future, we'll toss in a bigger and badder angle gear. So I'm gonna go ahead now and set up this blind hole extractor. Spin this nut, expanding this head till it's nice and tight against those splines, and basically just fucking bang, 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 bang until it pops up. This was a very cheap set that I got on Amazon, so I'm hoping it works. I'm hoping this isn't just a piece of shit. But I got no other option, so we're gonna give it a shot. Very, very tight space to fit that tool in, but that cheap extraction tool does work. So let's go ahead and compare these two collar sleeves, old and new. So we can see the teeth on the new one. All right, we can see the splines of the new one, and we can see the non-existent splines of the old one. There's just absolutely no comparison. If we're looking for a culprit, I think we found it. New angle gear is bolted up. If you guys think getting that collar sleeve out is a pain in the ass. Getting the new one in is even worse. For some people, they've said it's been really easy, it slides right in. Some people say that they gotta hit that bitch with a fucking sledgehammer. To me, personally, as long as the splines are lining up, you seat that thing right until that transmission output shaft is at line with the snap ring. And as long as all of your seals are in the proper position, you should be fine. So we're gonna go ahead and run it, say fuck it. Angle gear is bolted up, just bolting up the prop shaft now. Then we can go ahead and reassemble the downpipe and passenger side axle, clean everything up in the engine bay, replace a couple of sensors, and top up transmission fluid, because when you take these seals out from your collar sleeve, you lose quite a bit of transmission oil. I'm just gonna add a 1/4 quart, go drive around, heat it up, do my level checking from the dipstick, and then go from there. So let's go. So filling up the transmission fluid on these cars is kind of a pain in the ass. Dipstick is kind of buried way in there underneath a bunch of the cooling piping and all that. So you do need this elongated, articulated funnel. I've got a light kind of shining on it right now where it kind of enters that dipstick port, but it's just right there. That guy, bang, 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 that guy right there. So it's just kind of sitting in there right now. We're gonna go ahead and add some stuff that I just picked up at the store. This is just some 3309. Now, the Aston Warner 5150 transmissions takes the JWS 3309, and this here is that spec. You can see right there, it says for many Toyota, Lexus, Volvo, and other imported and domestic vehicles. 3309 is your go-to. If I was you, I would run genuine Volvo transmission fluid, but it's Sunday, it's a long weekend, and they ain't open. So I'm just gonna freestyle it. I'm gonna add some in here, and we're just gonna go ahead and run the car, warm it up, check levels, do it again. So here we go. One thing to note about putting oil in these transmissions is they're very, very picky. They do not like to be overfilled at all, not even a tiny bit. So underfilling it at first and checking your levels and topping it off would be my suggestion, because I've overfilled this transmission before and it completely hated it. Clunking and slipping and surging and all that shit. So what you want to do is you want to get your transmission nice and hot, pull your dipstick, wipe it off, put the dipstick back in the transmission dipstick fucking hole, and you want to look at these hot notches, and you want your transmission fluid to be right at that top 3rd notch. If it's sitting right there, you're good to go. So now I'm pretty much just heating up the transmission, trying to get that tranny fluid, you know, kind of hot. Definitely tell this all-wheel drive is working now, because we're not spinning. Usually we'd spin first and second gear would be absolutely useless, but yeah, it's just checking for leaks, making sure our fluid is at the point that we want it. Transmission's not slipping, so that's a really good sign. But you still want to be cautious, you still want to check. So we're going to pull over, we're going to find ourselves a nice flat surface, put the car in reverse, put the car in drive, put the car in neutral a couple of times, get that fluid really moving around, and then we'll pull that dipstick out, put it back in, pull it out a second time, and have a check. Alright guys, and that is pretty well an angle gear swap on a P2 chassis. One thing to note is that you want to make sure you're checking your transmission fluid levels while the car is running. Make sure it's at temp. I think we got really lucky this time. When I checked it just now, it seemed to have been pretty well exactly where I'd want it. I wouldn't risk adding any more because it is kind of a pain in the ass to remove fluid. It's much easier to add fluid than it is to remove it. So I'm happy where it is now. I finally have working all-wheel drive, and hopefully it stays for a little while. Here, I'll give you a little look at the car. This is a 2006 Volvo S60 2.5T all-wheel drive. I did a hybrid 71mm K24 turbo swap on it. It's making about 25 pounds boost, water meth injection, you know, large core front mount intercooler, all the good stuff. It hasn't been dynoed, but you know, I'm thinking it's making about 400 brake horsepower, and which is, you know, a big reason why I'm going through collar sleeves. Don't launch these cars, guys, especially with the 5-speed automatics. They can't take it. The TF80 for this car, or for the R model, is a much stronger transmission, and you can take it. It can actually have launch control tuned for it. This one, gotta be a little bit more careful. However, I hope you guys enjoyed, and comment down below if you liked it. See you guys later.